Okay, so moving on to some more exciting components. Containers are important, but I know they're a bit bland. If we go to the components section, so documentation, components from getbootstrap.com, make sure you're on 4.5 or 4.5 and above. And then on the left side, we have a whole list of different components that we can use. Now remember, almost all of this is done through the class attribute. So if we take a look at any of them, a carousel, for example, we're going to see a lot of class equals something, class equals, and the docs are very, very thorough. They're great documentation. I guess that's grammatically incorrect. They are great documentation, sure. They have great documentation. They've created great documentation, lots of examples. You can copy the code very easily. You can see the examples. It's one of my pet peeves is certain tools will have code examples, but they won't actually show you the end result, and you have to copy it and paste it yourself to see what you're doing. And then for each page you're on, let's say we're looking at forms, on the right-hand side we have all the subsections of forms. So we're going to begin with buttons. So Bootstrap comes with its own sort of default button, different styles, just like everything else here. We can alter them. We're not going to talk about how we alter them, just at least not yet, but we're just going to use the defaults for now. So buttons. Everything we do for a button involves this class, btn. So we've got btn and then different variations. I'll keep going down. We'll still see btn. Here's how we make a large button. It still has btn as one of the classes. Outline buttons, they still have btn. Okay, so let's just pick one of these to start. Literally just copy it and just make sure it works. So I'm going to copy this over here. I'll just put it under my H1 to begin with. And refresh, and there is my button. So very different than just a typical button, right? If I just add a default button like this, refresh, not so attractive. This definitely looks nicer. Now, what's up with button primary and secondary and success? So Bootstrap comes with these different semantic colors, these different labels like primary, secondary, success, danger, warning, info, light, and dark. And these are used all over the place. We'll see alerts in a bit. Alerts have the same set of variants. Primary, alert, success, alert, danger. If you look under utilities, which we'll come back to, we have a set of color utilities so that we can make different background colors, for example, and they all have those same labels, primary, secondary, success. So these colors are not set in stone. You can change them. The point of having a success is not to have a green color necessarily, or having danger is not supposed to be red or doesn't have to be red. Those are just the default colors that come with Bootstrap. And the point really is semantics or meaning. So it's pretty common for a website to have a primary color, like a brand color, and then some secondary color that goes along with it. And then some color that is used to indicate something is going horribly wrong or a danger versus something being successful versus something being a warning. It's not the same as danger, right? So the default is like a yellowish orange color for warning and a bright red for danger. You can change them all up. As an example, this nav bar from Bootstrap, I believe their primary color on the Bootstrap website is purple. So they changed that, and that's something you can do. If I inspect this button, we'll probably see button primary on here somewhere. And yep, there we go. You can see primary right there. So don't get hung up on the specific colors. A lot of people aren't crazy about them. They're just built-in options that we can totally customize. We'll see how to do that. And really, it's just about the meaning behind those terms, those labels. So instead of assuming every website is going to have a red and a green, so there would be a button red and a button green, they instead just go with some primary color, some warning color, some success. Okay, I think that's enough around the colors. So let's play around with this. We can make all of these different variants, btn and then btn dash, one of those semantic colors. So I've got a primary button. Let's just duplicate this and change them to be, how about a success button and a button info. Refresh. Now they all say primary, so I'm going to change that. Success and info here. And I won't do every single option, but we have danger, we have warning, we have light, we have dark, we have secondary. And then we also have a btn link, which is still a button here, but it doesn't look like a button. It looks like a link. It's just styled to look not like a button. further down, we have different options. For example, they show that you can use these classes on an anchor tag to make what looks like a button, but it's actually a link. You can do the same thing on an input where type is button or submit or reset. So these aren't technically button elements, but this one is a button element like we've just seen. And then we also have these outline variations, which are nice. So same colors, right? Primary, secondary, success, blah, blah, blah. But the syntax or the actual class name is different. So we still have button, BTN, but then BTN-outline- one of those colors. So let's try one. Let's do a warning. So button with the class of button. By the way, this type equals button attribute from the docs is not a huge deal, at least for now. It's just indicating that this is not a submit button or a reset. It's just a button that has no default behavior. Okay, so class equals BTN, and then I'm going to do an outline. So BTN-outline-, let's do warning, and then let's do warning outline as the text. Refresh, and there we go. So we get this nice inverse effect when I hover. Let's do one more. We'll do a danger. So BTN outline danger, and then we'll change that text to danger outline. Cool. So one thing I need to make very clear around Bootstrap is that whenever you're using it, unless you're super experienced and you have an amazing mind for memorization, you're going to have to consult the docs. That's just part of it. So don't get hung up trying to, memorize this. Just like I've mentioned with CSS, but especially with Bootstrap in particular, there's just a lot here. You didn't write this, these class names. They might not make perfect sense to you. For example, in the past, I have mixed up the order, if it's BTN-outline or outline-BTN. And, if you apply the wrong class, you're not going to get an error message or anything, right? If I misspell this just slightly, we don't get any of the effects from that class. So sometimes you just have to keep your eye out for that. Copy and paste is totally fine. And then the other thing we can do here is actually change sizes. And these are mix and match. So we can put these in with any of the classes we've already added. So to make a larger button, it's BTN-LG. To make a smaller button, BTN-SM. So let's try one of those. Let's do an outline info. So just take a look at what it looks like. Info, outline, there it is. And I'm going to make it larger. So I'll add BTN-LG. And it's larger. So it's not massive, but it is larger. And let's do one more. This one will be a non-outline. So we'll do BTN. How about secondary? Secondary, just like that. And then we'll do BTN-small, SM. So we'll do small button. Refresh. And there's our small secondary button. So small, large, and just normal, non-sized button. We also can do block level buttons, so you can make your button block without having to actually change the display property yourself. But that's all that it's going to do for you is set display to block. We have active state versus disabled state, so you can make a button disabled by simply adding the disabled attribute, so it has different styles. And this is nice. It will sort of reflect your current color. So if I make the success button disabled, just like that, it gets slightly grayed out or just less saturated. So I'll put that in there on one of them. Let's just do, maybe I'll copy that success button, put it here, success disabled, just so you have this as a reference, and I'll put that attribute in there. So that's all styles just coming from Bootstrap. Once again, it's not even a class there. So that's it for buttons. Remember, these colors can change. It's the meaning behind them that matters. And they're just labels, right? So they're like slots for, different colors that you can fill in at will and make your own palette. Okay, so different variations of buttons. That's our first example of using the sort of Bootstrap mechanic of just a bunch of classes. We see BTN and then some option for color. Is it an outline? Is it small? Is it large? Is it block? And that's it for buttons. So next up, we've got quite a few more components.